This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365.
And welcome back, everyone. This is the X-Zone on the Talkstar Radio Network, X-Zone Broadcast Network, UK High Definition Radio, Euro High Definition Radio, Star Cable, and X-Zone TV. 1-800-610-7035, worldwide toll-free. Email xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. On MSN Messenger, xzoneradiotv@hotmail.com. And our website, www.xzoneradiotv.com. X-Zone Nation, my guest this hour is Tom Keller. He is the author of a fascinating book, and I'm going to tell you this right up front. If you are into ufology, if you're thinking of getting into ufology, or if you know someone who's into ufology and you want to get ahead of the Christmas rush, this is the book. It's called The Total Novice's Guide to UFOs, What You Need to Know, and is by our guest this hour, Thomas L. Keller. Now, he's had a lifelong interest in space exploration, interstellar travel, as well as extraterrestrial intelligence. He lives in Palm Springs, California, with his partner Sally and their two cats, Bella and Bijou. Mr. Keller is an aerospace engineer and graduate of the School of Engineering, University of California at Los Angeles. He received a Master's of Business Administration degree from the University of California at Berkeley, and a Master of Science degree in Management Science from the University of Southern California. Mr. Keller was a computer program systems analyst at NASA's Jet Propulsion Lab in Pasadena, California, and developed a computer system for the management of resources for JPL's interplanetary exploration projects. Now, the system was used for resource management in the Mariner, Viking, and Voyager missions. His experience in the aerospace and construction industries led to the development of SpaceMax, Space Station Construction Simulator, and a project management simulator for the construction of the first commercial space station. Mr. Keller has also worked for Douglas Air and British Aerospace. And joining me now is Tom Keller. And Tom, welcome to the X-Zone.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you for the kind introduction, and thank you for having me on your program.
You know, it's a great pleasure having people on the show who go into as much depth as you have done, with as many credentials and as much credibility as you have. Where did your interest in UFOs come from, Tom?
Well, it started about age 10. I was in grade school, and someone showed me, one of my schoolmates showed me a copy of George Adamski's book, Flying Saucers Have Landed. And then I read a book by Donald Kehoe. This goes back a few years, of course, but he had a book called Flying Saucers from Outer Space.
Yeah.
And after reading those two books, I thought, gee, is this possible? Is there any likelihood of this happening? And, of course, I listened to my science teacher at the time, and she said that human beings would never get into space because it was too difficult. But I found that hard to believe. And I've been following Stories about flying saucers and flying discs and alien reproduction vehicles and this sort of a thing for, ever since then. And that's about 55 years or so, to be honest.
You and I have to take a break, Tom. Please stand by. And once again, congratulations on a great book, Exo Nation. I've got a copy of Tom's book here in my hands. Over 465 pages, high gloss, color photos, news clippings, photos, sketches. This is the book for the UFO crowd this Christmas. I'll be back on the other side of this commercial break with Tom Keller as we continue talking about the Total Novice Guide to UFOs, What You Need to Know. My name's Rob McConnell. This is The X Zone, a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard Monday through Friday from 10 p.m. Eastern until 2 a.m. Eastern on the Talkstar Radio Network and our growing list of family of broadcast affiliates, including CHCR in the Ottawa Valley and KKRP in Oklahoma. Don't go away. We'll be back.
Take a step back in time and discover old Florida cuisine at Marsh Landing Restaurant in Fellsmere. Enjoy delicacies such as frog legs, gator tail, catfish, and swamp cabbage, or enjoy the more traditional cuisine like hand-cut Angus steaks, ribs, and seafood. Join us for breakfast with a southern flair featuring sweet potato pancakes, biscuits and gravy, and much more. Planning a party? Marsh Landing's private dining room can accommodate groups from 8 to 80 people. While you're visiting, enjoy the historic pictures, artifacts, and stories that line the walls. Marsh Landing is truly a unique experience. Marsh Landing Restaurant, 44 North Broadway in historic Fellsmere, or visit marshlandingrestaurant.com. Marsh Landing, old Florida cuisine at its best.
Are you interested in the paranormal, ghosts, UFOs, or psychic phenomenon? Join me, Tim Bartley, co-host of Talking to Spirits with Lightworkers Tim and Justina, coming mid-January 2017 to the XZBN. We will channel spirits live and talk to them, revealing all kinds of amazing information. Spiritual attachments will be found and removed on the show, and so much more. To find out when you can listen to Talking to Spirits with Lightworkers Tim and Justina, visit www.xzbn.net for listeners on both sides of the veil.
Exo Nation, Tom Keller is our special guest. He's the author of The Total Novice's Guide to UFOs, What You Need to Know. And let me ask you this right up front, Tom. Are UFOs real?
Some of them are. Actually about, say around 95% of the reported UFOs are misidentifications, aircraft, balloons, mirages, and that sort of a thing, which leaves a small percentage, 5%, and those UFOs are real. I mean, they're real, solid objects. Now, the thing is, if you take that 5%, some of them are built by the U.S. government, actually here in California. And those are a result of 50 years of development in the Coachella Valley by General Electric, Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman. And these have been built in several different sizes, and they're actually operational. One thing I might point out, I know you haven't had a chance to read my book, but if you look in the appendix, in Appendix F, there is a technical paper by Dr. Theodore Loader. He is an expert on energy and transportation systems, and he presented this technical paper to the American Institute of Aeronautics and Astronautics a few years ago. And it actually describes in some detail the U.S. government's work on anti-gravity.
What it says
programs.
here in Appendix F, I've got it right here, and it's on page 429, Exonation. This paper reviews the development of anti-gravity research in the U.S. and notes how research activity seemed to disappear by the mid-1950s. It then addresses recently reported scientific findings and witness testimonies that show us that this research and technology is alive and well and very advanced. The revelations of findings in this area will alter dramatically our 20th century view of physics and technology and must be considered in planning for both energy and transportation needs in the 21st century. Wow.
That's it. When I say they, I'm talking about a certain element of the U.S. government. Obviously, this is done in very highly secretive situations and places, but it has developed to a considerable degree, and there are multiple sizes of flying discs, anti-gravity devices, if you will, that are under control of human beings.
But what
now,
about...
the other...
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, go. I think you and I were thinking the exact same thought. I was going to ask you now, what about the other ones, the other craft?
Right. Well, the other ones are simply devices, objects, vehicles, which are solid in nature from beyond Earth. And these, we have a number of different intelligences from somewhere beyond Earth, certainly beyond our solar system, that have been visiting here for any number of years. I'd venture to say maybe hundreds or thousands of years. And I know this is very difficult for people to accept, but this is certainly the conclusion that I have come to after 55 years of study. And if someone were to read this book who doesn't really know very much about UFOs, but if they have an open mind, they'll realize after passing through several chapters that this is a very real phenomenon. Now, this particular book is actually intended and designed for the general public. You know, too often I found I go into, maybe Barnes & Noble or Walden Books, and I find books on UFOs, but they're written for UFO enthusiasts. And they go into a great deal of detail about one incident or some technical aspect, and it's not really intended for the general public, the people who are truly novices, but they'd like to know more. So I've approached this from the point of view that, assuming that they're novices that are reading this, and we start with Roswell, because Roswell is probably the best known, most well documented, with the most witnesses, crash retrieval. And we start with Roswell, and then we progress through other stories. We end up with basically a testimony from a former manager at the Federal Aviation Administration, and his experience with what I've called the UFO secret police. This has to do with a JAL flight that came in from Japan over Alaska. You may have heard about it.
Yes. Yeah, sure.
And this is, I'm referring to James Callahan, and he is one of Dr. Stephen Greer's Disclosure Project witnesses.
Yeah.
So I have a few pages on his testimony. And then we in the next section, we cover other related phenomena such as missing time, human abductions, crop circles, and things of this nature. And following that, I've chosen 10 military whistleblowers. And these people have come in from a number of different periods of time who have had personal and direct experiences with flying discs and also extraterrestrial intelligences. I don't know if you've ever interviewed Clifford Stone or not.
Yes, I have.
Oh, you have?
Yeah.
Terrific. Well, you know his story, and he's, of course, one of the military whistleblowers that I've included in that section. Other areas of the book is that basically many people have listened to Carl Sagan, including myself, over the years, and he would always say that he knew that there were intelligent beings living in other solar systems and other galaxies, but the distances were too far. And so, consequently, he was basically debunking the reality of UFOs visiting from beyond Earth. Well, what we have included also is a section on, well, how do they get here from there? And obviously, it's you don't do it with chemical rockets.
No.
You do it with higher levels of technology. Now, this brings me into another subject, if I may. It has to do with the late Ben Rich. Now, Ben Rich was a former president of the Lockheed Skunk Works. And back in the early 80s, a friend of mine who also graduated from UCLA asked me to come do a lecture. And the lecture was by Ben Rich. Well, I didn't have any idea who he was, but I wanted to hear what they had to say. So basically, Ben Rich put on about an hour and a half lecture. And this was to a limited group of people. There were military people there. There were academics. There were newspaper reporters. And there were even some people from the CIA. He happened to recognize some people from the CIA, as a matter of fact, in the audience. And for the first hour, Ben Rich lectured and showed slides of all of the various aircraft that Lockheed Martin Skunk Works had designed and developed and produced in some quantities, in some cases, over the decades since his predecessor left. And that was Kelly Johnson, by the way. And then towards the end, when he finally wound up with a discussion about the F-117 Nighthawk fighters that the Skunk Works developed, he made a statement. He said, if you can imagine it, Lockheed Skunk Works has done it. Now, his final slide was a artist's conception of a flying disc. Now, this was a little shocking to me because I didn't expect him to say something like, or show something like that in a relatively public meeting. And then someone in the audience asked a question, and Ben Rich asked, he said, I'd like you to answer my question. How can we get to the stars? And the answer, he said, in answering his own question, he said, it's not by chemical rockets. What we have to do is to be able to develop a higher technology, much far more advanced, and one which is not depend on chemical reactions. And he meant then he made a statement that I repeated what he said. He said, if you can imagine it, Lockheed Skunk Works has done it.
Wow.
Well, this then continued on for a while, and people were asking various questions, including myself. And then finally his lecture came to an end. And the person that I was with, the guy that invited me there, his name is Jan Harzan, and he happens to be the state section director for MUFON in California. He followed Ben Rich to the exit door. The two of them were all alone. And my friend, Jan Harzan, said to Ben Rich, he said, Ben, how do UFOs work? And Ben Rich said to my friend, how does ESP work?
All right, stand by. I've got to take my commercial break. I've held it as long as I can. Wow. Tom Keller's our special guest. www.2fspress.com. The name of his book is The Total Novice's Guide to UFOs. We'll be back after the news. Don't go away.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365.
X-Zone Nation, Tom Keller's our special guest. He is the author of... Do you have your pencils and paper ready? Well, if you don't, you can go to our website at xzoneradiotv.com, go to the archives, and we'll have all the information on how you can get a copy of The Total Novice's Guide to UFOs, What You Need to Know. Right now, all you need to know is that you can go to www.2fspress.com. You'll find out how you can get your very own copy of this great book. And I am serious, X-Zone Nation. It's high gloss paper, beautiful photos, sketches, newspaper articles. This is what ufology needs to change it from ufology to ufology. More of this. We need more people like Tom Keller, Stanton Friedman, Kevin Randall, and I can name many that add to the credibility of the sincere investigation into ufology. But as I was telling Tom during the break, unfortunately, as great as the internet is, the internet, in my opinion, has put such a rift between the different UFO groups as well as the researchers that people who are out there, they see something in the sky and they say, geez, I wonder if there's anything on the internet. They go on the internet and they are just bombarded with the amount of so-called information that's out there, and a lot of it's nothing but crap. That's why I love your book, Tom.
Well, thank you very much. I just wanted to sort of finish off that last part of the discussion there. My friend Jan Harzan was at the exit door with Ben Rich. Mm-hmm. And Jan asked Ben Rich, how do UFOs work? Well, Ben's response was, how does ESP work? And Jan thought about it and said, well, everything in the universe is connected. And then Ben Rich said, mm-hmm. That's how UFOs work. And then he left. Now, that gives you something to think about. Because in order to get from one star to the other star, mm-hmm. what we have to use is a technology totally different from what we have now. And space-time is like a fabric. It's like a rubberized fabric. And given enough energy,
we can bend it.
You can bend space-time. Mm-hmm. And this is how these other beings from elsewhere get here.
Do you think that there are extraterrestrials living on this planet right now with us?
Well, of course, this is just a matter of opinion.
Yeah.
One of the extraterrestrials, as you know, is referred to as the Nordics. Mm-hmm. My sense is that the Nordics have been here for thousands of years.
Wow.
a friend of mine his name is Timothy Good. He's an UFO author living in the UK.
Yes, he is. Yeah, good guy.
He and I were talking once, and he was in a lobby, in the lobby of a big hotel somewhere in New York one morning, and he saw a person across the lobby who was reading a newspaper, apparently, and this person was telepathically communicating with Timothy Good. And this guy looked just like anybody else. But Timothy Good knew perfectly well that this was not some normal human being, even though he looked normal in the human sense and wore human clothes, of course. But my sense is that they've been here for thousands of years.
In your opinion, do the governments of the world know of the existence of extraterrestrials that may, in fact, be living on this planet? And if they do, why don't they just come out, and not just the government, but the alien visitors as well, and say, listen, we're here. They've been here for so long. They haven't done any harm to us, so what's all the hype about?
Mm-hmm. Well, my sense is that this issue has been passed. Every president of the United States has passed the buck. Every time we have a new administration, that issue is passed on once again because the U.S. government is concerned, fearful, use whatever word you like, about what would happen if this announcement were made during their term of office. You don't just say, well, we have someone from Planet X or whatever living here now, and then just sort of walk away without saying anything more. People obviously want to know how long they've been here, how did they get here, and more importantly, why are they here? I think the U.S. government, as well as other governments, not all, but some, have been reluctant to get involved with this. And it's my personal opinion that the U.S. government is sort of overseeing this entire process, and that other governments, some other governments, aren't willing to do anything until the U.S. government has directed them to do so. Now, I know the British have recently released some of their UFO files. France has previously released theirs, but not much has really happened as a result of that. I just think that they're worried, the U.S. government is worried about the economic consequences. They're worried about the energy consequences, transportation, pharmaceuticals, communication. It would have a tremendous impact on the world, and I think that they're basically afraid that some very unhappy things might happen, certainly economically, if that information were released.
I think the biggest upset in the world would come from the different religious philosophies.
Well, I would have thought so too. I have a little section in the book about religion and social order. But the Roman Catholic Church has, in recent years, acknowledged that extraterrestrial intelligence have visited the Earth. There was his name was Balducci. He was Monsignor Balducci from Rome, and he came right out and said that they are here. So my sense is that the Roman Catholic Church would possibly accept this fairly well. I'm not so sure about other religions, though. Those that have a very strong dogma about their beliefs would not maybe take it so easily. That's just my opinion.
Tell me about Roswell, New Mexico. It's It is the cornerstone of modern-day ufology. I've had Stanton Friedman on the show many times. I call him the grandfather of ufology.
Yes, and he should be called that, too.
You know, and yet here we are 60-some-odd years later, and nobody has come out with a smoking gun.
Uh-huh.
How come? How can if Roswell really did happen, how come nobody has come forward with that all-conclusive smoking gun that cannot be denied?
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, the reason why it hasn't, that smoking gun hasn't come out could be any number of things, but there are hundreds of witnesses to the Roswell event. And they don't, as far as I know, there have been components or pieces of the crashed vehicle that have been squirreled away in the public domain, so to speak, from people who actually were at the scene at the time. But I think the U.S. government keeps a very tight clamp on this, and they do everything that they can to disinform and to avoid any kind of release of solid materials, pieces of metal, things of this nature, photographs of extraterrestrial bodies and things of that like that.
You know, and then on the other side of the coin, you've got people like Billy Meyer, who have been publishing photos for what, 10, 15 years? You know,
20 years maybe.
20 years, yeah. And you've got people who work with Billy, like Michael Horn, who I've had the pleasure of talking to and meeting. You've got, when you look at Billy, okay, you know, he's a normal guy, but when you look at not only his UFO sightings, but when you read the for lack of a better word, the prophecies that he has been given,
yes,
you know, you start to wonder, saying, well, where the heck is this coming from?
That's right. Billy Meyer had a fifth-grade education.
Yeah.
And he had basically no monies to put into a lot of hoaxing and fabrications and what have you. He basically lived in a small Swiss village. He gave his photographs away. He constantly had people visiting his home, both UFO researchers and other people that friends and
as well as debunkers.
Yeah, oh yes, and as well as debunkers. The thing is that he apparently had entire volumes of telepathic messages that were transmitted from this alien being to him, and he just, in Swiss German, he wrote down what the messages were, and they were far beyond the capabilities of someone with limited education. And he also only had one arm, too. So it's, I've always have been fascinated with the color photographs that he made. And several of these are actually in the book, in the earlier part of my book.
What a lot of people may not realize is that there have been several attempts on Billy Meyer's life.
Yes, I'm sure of that.
Yeah.
There are all kinds of things that go on that behind closed doors, so to speak, that we don't often hear about. But these stories just, for some reason, just don't get out into the general public. And this is one of the reasons why I wrote this book, is to, in a fairly straightforward way, try to bring some of these facts, some of the documents and the pictures out into the public. And I think, you know, eventually something is going to happen where this all comes out. And I would rather have it come out in an easier way than some crisis or shock. And, of course, that's what Stephen Greer has been trying to do for quite some time. The other aspect of all of this is that has to do with technology. We are in the Earth, that is in pretty sad shape, and we can't keep relying on fossil fuels. This oil and coal consumption and burning in the air and whatnot has to change, and we can't keep driving cars and trucks and flying planes on outdated technology. And once this reality comes out, this is going to have some major impacts on, as I said, transportation and communication and energy generation. My sense is that the technology that can come out of this, once it's made apparent, is that we would be able to get virtually free energy devices. That is, devices that anyone can purchase and basically electrify their homes or buildings or whatever without much expense, and at the same time in a non-polluting way.
Tom, tell me, do you, after doing all the research for your book, being in the industry, talk to so many people about UFOs and ETs, do you believe, Tom, or has anyone that you've spoken to believe that they pose a threat to the safety and security of our planet?
Yes, I have. Heard, you hear so many different things coming from a variety of different directions. As far as I don't personally believe they're here or they're coming here to destroy the world. In a war of the worlds sort of scenario. What I do believe is this. We have at least 4 different extraterrestrial visitors. We've got the Nordics, we've got small humanoids, we've got the Greys, and we've got some reptilians. And 4, whether it's 4 or 40, the thing is they're here.
That's right.
Some people, including Dr. David Jacobs, have put out sort of a warning, I guess you would say, that the tall and very tall Greys are here to colonize, set up colonies.
Tom, stand by. We've
Earth.
got to take our final break. Tom Keller is my special guest. He's the author of The Total Novice's Guide to UFOs, What You Need to Know. His website, www.2fspress.com. We'll be back after this break. Don't go away.
19 Sergeant Central. 19 Sergeant check. Officers on the scene.
Hi, I'm Larry Lawson, host of Paranormal Stakeout. With over 36 years in law enforcement, I have learned a few things. The most important is the proper gathering and preservation of evidence is vital to putting the bad guy behind bars. It's no different in the world of paranormal investigation. Whether it's the search for the afterlife, cryptozoology, UFOs, and extraterrestrials, how we gather the evidence, preserve that evidence, and present it to a jury of our peers will make the ultimate difference in proving the existence of worlds and entities that are beyond our imagination. Join me, Larry Lawson, every week on Paranormal Stakeout when, along with my guests, we'll take a journey to prove with indisputable evidence what man has struggled to believe for centuries. Go to xzbn.net for the broadcast schedule and check me out at paranormalstakeout.com.
True healing must address 4 levels: physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual, for us to live joyful and productive lives. We tend to treat 3 of the 4, leaving the spiritual languishing. If you're tired of the same dysfunctional patterns cropping up in your life, Soul Balancing is for you. Trixie Phelps, owner and founder of Soul Balancing, is a naturally gifted energy healer trained in numerous esoteric forms, including shamanism. Trixie has created a powerful modality that safely and effectively clears your energetic field. A soul balancing session can remove interference, heal trauma, and restore your hope. Contact Trixie for a life-changing long-distance session today. www.soulbalancing.world.
You're listening to the X-Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net. Welcome back, everyone. X-Zone Nation, my guest this hour is T.L. Keller, and he's the author of what I believe to be the #1 UFO book I have ever seen. Doing this show for 20 years, I've seen many books cross my desk that are in our library. But when it comes to a novice's guide, or for a book for someone who's just getting into ufology, this is my pick. It's entitled The Total Novice's Guide to UFOs, What You Need to Know, and once again, it's by our guest this hour, T.L. Keller. Now, we were talking during the commercial break, Tom, and tell the audience what you told me about the availability.
Oh, if I could. Unfortunately, right now, Amazon.com and I are completely stocked out of books. I have a new shipment coming in at the end of the month, and Amazon will be fully stocked then. And also, if you go to my website, if you'll just go to Contact Us and send me your email address, or your telephone number, I can contact you when the book shipment has arrived. So that's it. I don't want to disappoint anybody out there.
Wow, but congratulations on, once again, your book. And that just goes to prove what I've been saying this last hour. It's a great book.
Well, thank you so much. I very much appreciate that. I hope it enlightens a lot of people. And to be very honest, if people read this from the first page to the last, it will change your worldview.
But once again, you have to have. But once again, no matter what the book is about, you have to read it with an open mind.
Yes, exactly.
Tom, we've got about a minute left. What would you like to leave the listeners of the X Zone with tonight? You're going to be coming back in a couple of weeks because we still have so much to cover. What's the message you'd like to leave us with tonight?
Well, the message I'd like to leave basically is that, and I say this in my book in the last chapter. Don't listen to anything that I've said. Don't accept anything that I've said. Just please do your own reading. Look at the DVDs. Go to your local UFO community meetings and research this yourself. That's the best advice that I can give. I don't think that anyone should just listen to someone such as me and take it for granted. There's so many complex issues. This is it's a complex issue within an enigma. So everyone should decide for themselves after researching it.
Tom, I want to thank you ever so much for joining us. We'll have you back in the next couple of weeks. Somebody from our production staff will get a hold of you. Thanks very much. Congratulations on a great book, and I look forward to talking to you again in a couple of weeks, as well as talking to you about your next book, which looks like another crash hit. It's going to be entitled, you ready for this? Evolution, Creation, and Intelligent Design, What You Need to Know. T.L. Keller, take care of yourself. Have a great weekend, Tom.
Thanks again, Rob.
Bye-bye, sir.
Bye now.
Once again, X Zone Nation, T.L. Keller, The Total Novice's Guide to UFOs, What You Need to Know, www.2fspress.com. Thanks for a great week, everyone. I'll be back Monday night at 10 o'clock. Have a super weekend, love each other, and always, always keep your eyes to the sky and your heart to the light. Good night now.